The latest news, national issues, the political scene, and conversations with prominent personalities. All these firsthand at the forefront. Good morning. I am Attorney Karen Jimeno. All Saints Day long weekend begins tomorrow, and transport terminals in Metro Manila have been deluged with the influx of domestic travelers since the start of the week. Are the major transport terminals in Metro Manila for land, sea, and air travel prepared for the surge of travelers? Or will we hear the same problems all over again? Joining us this morning over Zoom is the spokesperson of the Manila International Airport Authority, Attorney Chris Bendijo. Good morning, Attorney Chris.
Good morning, Attorney Karen.
First, can you give us an idea of the estimated number of travelers that will be going through the airports, both domestic and international?
We're projecting about maybe a 3 to 5% increase from last year's almost 1.2 million. So that would be roughly around maybe 1.220 or 1.230. That's what we're anticipating insofar as 2024 is concerned.
And since you're expecting an increase, what type of preparations did the MIAA undertake?
Well, this is somewhat a special Oplan Undas for 2024 because this is the first time that we're launching an Oplan with the private sector. As you are aware, the operations of our terminal is now with new NAIA Infra Corporation. That's why the GM gave specific instructions to make sure that everything will run smoothly and proper coordination with the private concessionaire as well as the local government units are concerned are properly done.
So what is this Oplan Undas, if you can give us an overview?
Well, considering the anticipated surge of passengers, we are coordinating all government agencies that are operating within the terminal. And of course, with the private sector operating the same, we have to make sure that they are prepared insofar as contingencies are concerned. So with this, we have to make sure collaboration is in proper place, traffic management, police visibility to ensure security. Our engineering team is put on 24/7 so that they make sure that all equipment are working properly. Even our other government agencies from your Bureau of Customs to Bureau of Immigration to the OTS, they are put on heightened alert so that they can properly deploy proper personnel, the sufficient number of personnel to make sure that all processes are in place.
And Attorney Chris, what is the situation in our airports right now? Are you already seeing this increase in number of passengers?
As of this moment, we haven't seen that surge. We're usually observing that probably on Thursday or Friday. It just so happened also that the holidays would fall on this Thursday and Friday duration. So we're anticipating a lot of our passengers planned for this very long weekend. So hopefully we're prepared today. This afternoon, we're going to have a walkthrough and final inspection with our Secretary of Transportation so that we'll just have one final check before we have this Oplan launch.
Okay. Attorney Chris, recently there was an issue with the baggages, and I think this affected certain airlines like Cebu Pacific. How is the situation for baggages, conveyor belts? Are there still any problems?
Well, insofar as the baggage handling system is concerned, I'd like to clarify that it was actually a screening device, an X-ray device that malfunctioned. So that has been repaired. That has been fully repaired by our private concessionaire. Again, that's where the private sector advantage comes in because they can just purchase parts right there and then. Insofar as other equipment are concerned, we have a report this morning. Everything is okay. But still, this afternoon, we'll have one final check with our Secretary of Transportation.
And Attorney Chris, in the past, there were issues sometimes with the power in the airports and passengers would have to go through the airport without air conditioning or minor power outages. What is the situation for the power right now?
For the air conditioning, even before the turnover, we were able to repair and replace the oldest components in Terminal 3 insofar as the cooling units are concerned. So we're not anticipating any problem there. Insofar as our electricity is concerned, we have our Meralco team on 24/7 standby. We have proper coordination with them in case of any power interruption. We also have our generator sets, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to announce it, but there are incoming purchases for uninterrupted power supply from NNIC. Maybe I'll just wait for them to make the proper announcement regarding that.
Okay. And in terms of flight delays, are you undertaking any measures to prevent flight delays and then maybe initiatives to provide real-time information to passengers? Are there any centralized systems or apps that they can go to get information?
Yes, during the launch of this Oplan, there will be help desks all around our terminals. It will be manned by APD, our terminal administrators. And of course, we have already checked our flight information display systems and everything's working. So any information, any passenger can actually just approach any employee of the terminal or our airlines, and we'll be ready to help.
There are reports that we're also expecting another typhoon, Typhoon Leon. Is the airport preparing for this contingency as well?
Yes, there's actually a team that's monitoring the weather actively. So this morning we have a report already. We're not as anticipating any delays, but of course the weather is very unpredictable. So there's a team that's actively monitoring that. I suggest that our passengers coordinate directly with the airlines for proper announcements in cases of cancellations and delays.
And Attorney Chris, in the past, sometimes there are instances when passengers get stranded in the airports. Are there any facilities right now in the airports where passengers can stay, apart from the lounges that are more for business and first-class passengers?
In so far as cancellations are concerned, we have waiting areas in our airports. We have commercial establishments in our airports. And in the very rare instance that there will be substantial stranded passengers, we can deploy additional seating for our passengers. We also have coordination with our CAB and CAAP insofar as privileges, insofar as passenger bill of rights is concerned. We have also reminded our airlines to actively monitor passengers so that they can also provide snacks in cases of cancellations and delays.
And in terms of security, what type of initiatives are the airports undertaking?
We have proper coordination with the PNP, both for Pasay and Parañaque. We have increased police visibility so that we can make sure that our passengers are safe. Insofar as final security checks, the OTS has already mandated their personnel to be on 24/7 standby so that they can make sure that final security and baggage security screening can be done properly and efficiently.
Do you have an idea as to the number of additional police that are deployed in both the international and domestic airports?
To my understanding, the present warm bodies insofar as Philippine aviation security units are concerned will be rounding up to the 500. So they'll be increasing this to another 100 or 200 maybe. And we'll just get more information from our PNP of SEO.
Okay. And last question, Attorney Chris, what would be your advice to those taking flights? Should they increase the allowance that they should have? Like if you're traveling international, how many hours should be the time that they allot? And then for domestic, how many hours?
We suggest that for international flights, you arrive at the airport at least 3 hours before your flight, and for domestic, 2 hours before. On top of that, we also suggest that you familiarize yourselves also with respect to other processes in our airport. Visit websites of OTS, perhaps to be familiar with prohibited items insofar as check-in and hand carry baggage are concerned. Familiarize ourselves also with e-travel requirements so that we can have a smooth processing insofar as our travel is concerned.
And Attorney Chris, reassignment of airports, is there something that the people should be aware about? Meron bang bagong reassignment?
That is something that we still have to clarify with the private concessionaire. I know for a fact that they have made announcements regarding terminal reassignments, but to be honest, we haven't received any submissions insofar as their proposals are concerned. So for future reassignments, I suggest our passengers directly coordinate with our airlines so that they'd be informed as to which terminal they're airlines could possibly be assigned to.
Okay, thank you so much for taking your time to join our program today, Attorney Chris Bendijo.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good morning.
Up next, we'll have the head of PITX to give us updates on our bus terminals when At the Forefront returns after a short break. Welcome back at the Forefront. Joining us this morning is the Head of Corporate Affairs and Government Relations of PITX, Jason Salvador. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning, Attorney Karen. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with UNDA's preparation. So how many passengers are you expecting for the bus terminals?
Oh, wow. It's the time of the year again, right? This is one of our most in-demand periods for the year. Aside from Christmas and Holy Week, Undas is really one of our biggest blockbusters. So this time, we're anticipating around 1.4 million passengers from Monday to November 5. It was actually higher a week before Christine happened. We were
You mean the projection was higher?
Yes, the projection was higher. Because we were anticipating that about 2.4 million passengers would be passing by PITX from the week of October 21 to November 5. The reason for that is that because of the new work arrangements of our kababayans, like some have work from home and then some have blended work arrangements, we were anticipating that some of them would go to the provinces ahead of time so as not to, clog the terminals during the 30 and the 31st. But since they weren't able to travel during that week, so we had to make adjustments. And our worry now is that, they might go to the provinces all at the same time during the 30th and the 31st and November 1. So that's going to be the challenge now. But we're up to it. We planned early for this. In fact, as early as 3 weeks ago, we had this big multi-sectoral meeting. We spoke to our stakeholders. We talked to government, to our regulators to make sure of three things, what we call the S-Trinity. We make sure of, one is the safety of our passengers. When you talk about safety, that deals with the viability of the bus, meaning the roadworthiness. So we check that along with LTO. And then along with that is the condition of the drivers. We make sure that they're in the right physical condition, right mental condition. And of course, they're not under any influence of drugs or alcohol. So that's safety for you. And then we have supply. We have to make sure that we have enough bus supplies to ferry passengers in and out of Metro Manila. And of course, security, because during this time, when there's a lot of people in the land port, in the terminal, this is also the time that some of the unscrupulous people are trying to, get away with something. So we make sure that there's beefed up security along with PNP personnel and government employees as well.
When you say safety in relation to the drivers, is there a mandatory drug test that they have to undertake?
Yes, we do. Actually, we do that randomly from time to time. We had one last Monday. Thankfully, no one was found positive. But we do this from time to time so that, our passengers would have a peace of mind that the drivers that are ferrying them to the provinces are, in a good state. And at the same time, to give a warning to the drivers not to do drugs.
Yeah. What about alcohol?
Yes, we do breathalyzers as well.
Okay.
So we do this in coordination with LTO, PIDEA, and the MMDA.
Okay, so at least, and what about enough sleep? Do you
Well,
ensure that?
we do check that as well, especially for long hauls. Like for trips that are ranging from 6 hours and longer, we require them to have two drivers, meaning they should have a reliebo of some sort. Because they need to rest, because if there's lack of sleep, then that would affect really their condition and the driving. And it would put the passengers in peril.
And for the bus passengers, do they undergo a check of their luggages?
Well, yes, we do. We strictly check the luggages, especially during holidays, because this is the time that a lot of our passengers are trying to bring a lot of things to the provinces. So we normally do not allow, or we don't allow really, any sharp objects that can be used as a weapon. And then any highly flammable materials, because you can just imagine, Attorney Karen, if you put this under the carriage of the bus and it's too hot, that might, start the fire, and it would be a big problem. And of course, we also do not allow anything that's yung may masangsang na amoy or not smelly. You can just imagine if you're stuck in a bus, air conditioned, 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, that would be very uncomfortable, not only for you, but for your co-passengers.
Yes. And because of Typhoon Christine, there were a lot of infrastructure that was
Yes.
destroyed, particularly in the Bicol region. So, are there still trips that will go to Bicol?
Yes, it was recently resumed. Over the weekend, while the storm was over, we got advisories from the regional offices of LTO, LTFRB. We were advised not to allow buses going to the Bicol region, Visayas and Mindanao for the reason that there's still flooded streets along the way, and then they're still undergoing rehabilitation and works, no? And then because of that, the traffic was so bad, it reached around 30 kilometers of standstill. So they had to stop the buses because it's very uncomfortable for the people just to be waiting in the buses. So luckily yesterday they lifted that ban, and then now they're allowing us to go with the routes going to Bicol, Visayas, and Mindanao.
So, starting today, we can already
Yes,
see
starting
buses that
today.
go to Bicol.
Yes, finally. And with that, a lot of people are now trooping to the land port, to PITX, because they're very excited to go to their provinces to commemorate on dust.
And right now, if you go to the bus terminals in PITX, what's the situation like? Is it already crowded?
It's a bit crowded. Last Monday, we were able to tally around 158,000 passengers. Yesterday, almost the same. And we're anticipating it to go as high as 200,000 per day on the 30th and the 31st. So it's kind of crowded. But the good thing is, since we prepared early for this, the ingress and egress is kind of fast. So it's not, clogging the terminal.
Are there sufficient waiting areas there?
Yes.
Air conditioned?
We made sure. Yes, very much. It's air conditioned, free Wi-Fi, lots of food concessionaires, a little bit of shopping, some pasalubong. So we try to think about the needs of a traveler. So we try to provide for that as much
So
as we can.
convenient naman siya.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there
Yes, ma'am.
shower facilities?
Yes, we
for
do.
travel?
We do,
Oh.
especially during the height of Typhoon Christine. A lot of people were stranded there because they couldn't go back to the other provinces where they came from, and they couldn't take their trips, especially those na may tawid dagat, meaning they have to take the Roro. So yeah, they were able to rest there. At least we knew that they were comfortable, safe.
And PITX is a private entity.
Yes, ma'am.
And with respect to the buses, do you have control in determining the schedule of the buses, the frequency of the travel?
Oh, that's what we're working on. Since we are a private terminal, by the way, PITX is a product of a PPP arrangement between a private group, which is Megawide Construction, and the DOTR. While we provide for the infrastructure where the buses will go and the passengers will take their rides, we don't have a control over the schedule. So that's what we're trying to work on with government, LTFRB, and DOTR. But so far, it's working because on our own, we do our own schedules, and then it's highly technical, just like what you have in an airport. So that's why we call ourselves a land port, because it's the same way how it works. You'll know when the bus is arriving. You'll know what's the status. It is delayed. Is it canceled, or so on and so forth.
How do you check that? Is it through a website, or
Yes,
is there
we do have
already an app
websites.
for
We do have
PITX?
websites. We do have social media pages, and we also have an app. What we try to do is we have our own people to coordinate with different bus companies. We monitor their location, and so that we would know and we could announce to people what's the status of their trips.
And currently, this is in Metro Manila.
Yes,
But
yes.
there are any plans to put up a PITX in the north or south?
Yes. Ideally, there should be a lot of PITX all over the country. In fact, we've received a lot of inquiries, a lot of tours from other jurisdictions, other government, local government units. They would want to put up a similar ITX in their provinces, like in Ilocos, in Baguio, in the South, Cavite, Batangas, and all over.
But for the passengers, was there an increase in the
No.
fees that they had to pay? Wala for the terminal?
No, because in PITX, we don't, unlike in an airport and in a seaport, we don't charge terminal fees for the passengers. So there's no fees whatsoever. While we do collect terminal fees for the public utility vehicles like the buses, the taxis, the jeepneys, but this goes directly to government through DOTR. We're just a collecting agent. So in that way, we don't charge anything to the passengers. Just the same, this is the normal fares that they would pay in the public utility
So there
vehicles.
was no increase
There's
from
no
the time
increase.
that this PPP arrangement was made. How do you make money then?
Well, through the concessionaires, we do have stores there, and we also have office towers. We have local BPOs. We have logistic companies because it's very ideal because we're very near the airport, we're very near the seaport, and we're at the outskirts of Metro Manila, and it's easy to go out through Skyway, through PITX. That's why we have a lot of offices there.
So the facilities have offices,
Yes,
and that's
ma'am.
where you make the income, not
Yes, ma'am.
even from operating the
Oh,
terminal.
yes, we don't
itself,
get anything out of the terminal.
But from the food concessionaires.
Yes,
you
from the
get
food
rent
concessionaires,
and-
from the stalls and everything.
Okay. Do you have an estimate of how many that is? Like all the concessionaires combined?
Wow. Probably around 300 because it's a big facility. We have most of the big brands there, mostly food concessionaires because that's what the travelers need. A few shopping items and all that. But one of our big chunks is the office towers because we have BPOs there and, as I mentioned, logistics companies.
And in terms of your parking, do you allow parking, like overnight parking?
Yes, we do.
And how much is the fee?
Well,
Like,
we
is
have
it
a very
expensive?
affordable parking fees because the original idea of PITX is to help alleviate traffic in Metro Manila. One, you don't allow provincial buses to go in Metro Manila to add up to the volume. And then we also encourage private motorists to just park and ride. So that if you're a daily commuter coming from the south, going to BGC, Makati, Ortigas, what have you, you just park at PITX, take the EDSA carousel, take the other modes of transport so that you don't contribute. That's why we charge a minimal fee. Like, we charge only 60 pesos for the whole day. If you're parking overnight,
day?
it's 150.
Oh my gosh.
A total
Okay.
of 24 hours, 210. So it's very affordable.
Yes.
So as to encourage people not to take their cars anymore. And if you can imagine, it's very convenient for passengers. Like, park there, take the bus. You don't get into traffic. You don't pay exorbitant fees in BGC or in Makati.
That's true.
Plus, there's
Yeah,
no
and
stress.
then just take the bus. But then for NAIA, that was an issue because they increased
Right.
the parking fee,
Yeah.
especially for overnight rates. Did you see an influx of cars? that
There's an
came from-
increase. There's a relevant increase in our parking, no? Especially because we're a stone's throw away from NAIA and all the airports. And we have
of
buses.
Terminal 1. You're closest to which terminal?
We're closest to probably Terminal 1 and 2. But since there's a Skyway, the NAIAX, so it's highly accessible. And we do have buses going around all the terminals. So that's why it's very convenient. So we saw a big chunk of their parkers going to PITS because it's not only convenient, it's affordable, and it makes sense.
And paano yun pagka naman yung normal, the passengers? Are you prepared for that increase?
Yes, ma'am. We actually have a huge parking space. We're really designed to cater to that because, as I mentioned, the idea is to encourage people to park and ride. Not only park and ride to the airports, but also for the buses.
And with Typhoon Leon potentially coming, what type of preparation
Well,
is
we're
PITX
hoping that it would not be as devastating as Christine. But we're not seeing a big disruption, unlike Christine, because we only have a few trips to the north, like in Baguio, Tuguegarao, Pangasinan, Nueva Ecija, Bulacan. Hopefully, it won't be as bad, but we're hoping and praying so that our countrymen can still, enjoy Undas.
And your terminal is designed for how many types, how many passengers total?
Well, in any given day, we are designed to accommodate at least 200,000 people.
200,000.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
that's a lot. And is there any room for expansion?
Oh, yes, there is. In fact, we're undergoing a lot of design studying now. So, because we're continuously trying to improve on services so as to cater to the needs of the passengers. So, there are a lot of room for improvement.
And for those traveling this on the season, what would be your tips so that they won't be
Well,
left behind, or how to ensure a smooth travel?
Well, one, they should book early. If they can can afford to, they should buy their tickets early.
What are
So
the
ito-
modes where they can buy their
Well,
travel
they can get in touch directly with their friendly neighborhood bus companies. They can get in touch with us. But surprisingly, Ma'am Karen, most of our passengers still prefer to go to the terminal and buy their tickets.
A lot of them go on the
Yes.
day itself and buy from there.
Yes, yes.
Without knowing yung schedule.
Right,
But you
right.
can
So-
check online,
Yeah,
right? You
of
said
course, we have-
PITX, social media pages, online.
In our webpage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our advice for them. If they can afford to book their trips early, buy their tickets early, so that they won't be, in the bulk of the people. While we do assure them that they'll get seats, no, because we've arranged for special permits with the LTFRB for additional buses in case the need arises. But of course, it would be best if they could book early.
Yeah, what type of bus companies can they find in PITX?
Well,
the big ones, yeah.
The big ones like Victory Liner, Jack Liner, Jam. In fact, we have almost everybody.
So almost everyone there. But they should check with those, try
Yes,
to buy
ma'am.
tickets there directly. And then in terms of what they can pack, you said, bawal yung mga sharp objects. Are they allowed to pack alcohol?
Well, yes. As long as they keep it in their personal belongings,
But
it
they
has-
can't drink it? Are
No,
they allowed to
can't.
drink it?
They're not allowed to drink it while traveling because that might produce some uncomfortableness, and then it might. But you know what? It has been a tradition of our countrymen when they're going to the provinces that they pack a lot of things, like even the kitchen cabinet, so to speak, and their pets and all that. But while we do allow this. But our advice is that during passenger season like this, it would be best if you would travel light. Travel light because of two reasons. One, it would be very uncomfortable for you if you have a lot of things within the terminal.
Wala
That
bang
is a lot of
baggage
people.
limit ang bus?
While
Not
we
like
do, as
airport?
much as we can accommodate, because, limited lang naman yung carriage din ng bus, But yun nga, mag-travel light kayo kasi ang hirap din naman, dami mong tinitingnan, tapos ang daming tao, baka ikaw din yung mawalan, di ba, mahirapan. And second, please do travel light so that you can give opportunities to other passengers na makapagdala rin ng pasalubong at kung ano-ano. Alam mo naman, Ma'am Karen, pag galing ka Maynila, dapat pag umuwi ka ng probinsya, meron kang ibibigay sa iyong mga kamag-anak, meron kang mga ganun. So, as much as we can, we allow that. But, ang bawal lang, yun nga, yung mga matatalim na pwedeng gawing weapon, and then yung may masangsang na amoy, and then yung medyo magliliyab para naman hindi sila malagay sa alanganin.
What about pets? Are you allowed to bring pets?
Of course. Not only, of course, ngayon usong-uso na yung fur parents, di ba? People can't leave their pets in the house. Ang pakiusap lang namin, lagyan ng proper diapers, if ever,
and
and
they
in
can
carriage.
be in the bus
Oh,
with
yes,
the
of course,
passengers.
of course.
Okay. And then, for foreign travelers, so sometimes they travel with a lot of stuff, and they might have a luggage that they need to leave behind. Are there locker services?
Yes, we have
in
smart
the-
lockers there. We have storage places that they can leave their baggages, especially for travelers coming from the airports. Then they would go directly to the provinces or the beaches in Batangas or what have you. So we do provide luggage services.
And then earlier, I already asked what type of preparations you have should there be Typhoon Leon that's coming.
Well, we're
But
closely
any-
coordinating with the local government units so that we would know if the roads are passable, if the trips are still conducive. We are always on standby with the OCD, with the DA, with the DPWH, and of course the local governments.
And in terms of lessons learned from the prior peak travels, you mentioned mga blockbusters, di ba? So you said this is one of the blockbusters, yung Undas season. What lessons learned have you had in the past that you're now applying?
Well, one thing that we try to solve is the traffic going in and out of Metro Manila. Because the challenge is, during holiday seasons like this, traffic's really bad, right? Going in and out of Manila. And that poses a challenge for us in the land port because of the turnaround time of the buses. When the buses are delayed going back to PITX to take more passengers, then that's the time that the crowd swells because they can't get out. So what we try to do now, we coordinated early with the toll roads, the toll operators, with DOTR, so that they man the traffic, so that they could be a smooth ingress and egress, and there won't be delays in the trips.
Okay, so at least for the bus passengers, that's something that they can look forward to.
Yes, ma'am.
Sana less traffic. Okay, thank you so much, Jason, and good to see you again.
Thank you, ma'am.
And next, we'll check on the preparations for our nationwide ports when At the Forefront returns. Welcome back at the forefront. And live at the BNC studio to give us updates on our nationwide ports is the spokesperson of the Philippine Ports Authority, Ms. Eunice Samonte. Good morning, Eunice.
Good morning, Atty. Karen, and thank you for having us here to remind the passengers, of course, for their last-minute trips this Undas Exodus.
Well, we'll start with the number of expected passengers in all our ports nationwide. Do you have an estimate?
Actually, we're looking at the forecast of 1.6 million passengers this Undas Exodus. This is higher compared to our numbers from last year, which is 1.5 million passengers. We're also still looking at this day because October 30, this is the peak of the passengers that we're looking into. And also on November 3, because this is when they go back or return to their work and schools.
What are the major ports in the Philippines?
For the major ports, we are looking at, of course, Batangas Port is one of the biggest passenger terminals that we have. We have 8,000 seating capacity in Batangas Port. And we're also looking at the trips in Panay Guimaras, also in Mindoro. And we also are monitoring the ports, especially in the provinces, because these are where the most number of passengers are.
Are there ports that were damaged by Typhoon Christine that are still unrepaired as of today?
That's correct. We have ports, but they have minor damages for Christine, and we're also preparing for Typhoon Leon. No? But the measures have been laid down already, and we have ports damages. Like for example, in Batangas Port, there have been ships that were washed ashore due to the strong winds of Typhoon Christine. But we are also looking at minor cracks in some of our ports and some solar panels that were down during the peak of Storm Christine. But now we're actually in the restoration process, and we're already ready for Typhoon Leon.
So those who want to travel by sea, they can expect to use all the ports. Like you said that there were some that were damaged but undergoing restoration. Are all the ports open?
That's a good news because all of our ports are fully operational, and they can use all of our ports. But for now, as we speak, we have stranded passengers in Bicol, Port of Matnog, but this is because of the strong winds because of Typhoon Leon. But we're adhering to the policies of the Philippine Coast Guard. If they will give us a sail zone policy or a no sail zone policy, then we remain committed to their advice.
And in Matnog, for those who are stranded, are there sufficient waiting areas and facilities for the passengers?
That's correct. Actually, even before Typhoon Christine and Typhoon Leon, PPA General Manager Jason Salvador already laid down the plans or the preparations for this Undas Exodus. Like for example, in Port of Matnog, Batangas, and most of our biggest ports nationwide, we have facilities like, for example, an all-gender restroom. We also have children's room for the children in the ports. We also have for example, water refilling station, and also we have the charging stations. And even before this exodus, we already opened bigger passenger terminals like in Batangas. Even the President himself, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., already inaugurated this big passenger terminal in Batangas, as you can see here. This
has this is in Batangas.
Yes, this has
wow.
a sitting capacity of 8,000 passengers, and we have the big screen there where they can see their trips if it's canceled, delayed, or they have changes in their trips. And we expect more passengers in Batangas Port today, especially that we moved the gate. So we just opened today another new gate for the passengers. That is to avoid some passengers being offered by some fixers outside the port. We have a new gate today, and this is in North Port actually.
Where is that new gate?
The new gate is already located in front of the passenger terminal building, so that for the convenience of the passengers as well.
So Typhoon Leon, it seems that it's already affecting Matnog. Are there other ports that are affected by Typhoon Leon?
Yesterday, we have a canceled trip in Masbate, so no trips were allowed yesterday, last night, to be exact. But as of today, the storm or the signal has been lifted, and we don't have canceled trips in Masbate, but in Bicol, we still have stranded passengers, around 300.
And for those with travel plans, are there other ports that they should be aware of, that they have to check the advisory because they might be potentially affected by Typhoon Leon?
That is correct. Actually, in our announcements in the Facebook page of social media of Philippine Ports Authority, we're open 24/7 because we are always posting what are the canceled trips, the delayed trips, and if ever the passengers would like to seek clarification with their trip, we've been receiving a lot of questions in our social media page. Actually, now, to be honest, hindi na telephone eh. More of Facebook, gano'n na yung mga
And may
inquiries.
sumasagot sa Facebook
Yes,
ninyo. If there's a
yes.
query or a concern, they can send a message in your Facebook page?
Yes, that's correct. Ang ating Facebook page, it's open 24/7. So if ever there's a lot of questions in their trips, they can just message us in Facebook. And as of now, as we speak, ang dami pa ring inquiries kasi nga, di ba, nagbagyo. So people are not sure if their trips are canceled or not. So we answer them via Facebook.
And since there are so many shipping companies that also operate, is there a centralized portal for the information on the travel schedules? And for those who still want to buy a ticket, where can they find like all the schedules for the ports?
They can find it in the shipping lines website. Actually, it's available if they just book in their preferred shipping line. Like for example, we have a lot of shipping lines that they can use in the ports if they want to still go in line. But if for their convenience, for the passengers' convenience, we have the online ticketing system for the shipping lines, which they can book from the comfort of their homes.
Okay. And for those that will be traveling on November 3, you said that's another major date, no? Because they're all coming back to Manila. What measures are the PPA undertaking to make sure that all of that goes smoothly?
For the trips for the people going back, we also have the same preparation as to their going to their provinces. But for now, we are prepared when it comes to their needs. Like for example, the charging stations, the facilities, it's all working properly. And if they have canceled trips, they can stay in the ports so as not to make any more inconvenience. No, we have hot meals, for example. We serve hot meals for people who are affected by the delayed and suspended
And this is
trips.
PPA do they provide that for free?
Yes, actually, it's not in the mandate of PPA to actually provide the meals for the people stranded in ports, but PPA General Manager Jason Salvador, he initially told or issued the memorandum for the free food for the passengers' convenience, especially during typhoon season and stranded passengers. But we're coordinating with the shipping line so as they can also provide the passengers the food if they have delayed trips.
And for medical emergencies, are there first aid or health centers also within these port terminals?
We have malasakit help desks in the port, and also we have a 24/7 working clinic. For example, there are emergencies at ports, and it's open, and we have some medical personnel on duty.
And what about security measures? Have you coordinated with the police and other the local governments to add security during Undas?
When it comes to security, actually, we have been preparing for this even months before the Undas exodus. Earlier this year, we have inaugurated in Pampanga the K9 Academy. This is for the collaboration of PPA Port Police and the Philippine Coast Guard. That is to prepare them for this kind of situation. And now, we have more or less 3,000 security forces in the ports, that's including the port police and the force multipliers. And we have the K9 units roaming around during this season.
can you give us tips on what types of items are not allowed to be brought in the vessels?
Actually, surprisingly, we have been getting a lot of sharp items and even appliances, no? People, but of course, they can
Appliances ba
travel.
are not allowed?
No, it's allowed, but of course, we would like to remind our passengers to travel light so as not to inconvenience other passengers who are also lining up for the security checking in the X-ray baggage and in the security check, no? But for now, we have been confiscating bladed weapon, flammable materials, and some pork products.
Pork products?
Yes, because
Is this because of ASF? Or bawal talaga ang food? Or you can bring food but pork particularly is prohibited?
in some areas, they allow pork products because some of our passengers, of course, they're gonna have picnic, they're gonna have salo-salo with their family. But for example, in Mindoro, the Mindoro has a local ordinance that they don't allow pork products in their place. So that's why the pork products in Batangas Port, for example, people with frozen pork, barbecue products, they will not be allowed to travel to Mindoro because there's the Bureau of Quarantine checking also their things.
Okay, but in terms of other items, you said appliances are okay. You can bring those, but make sure to avoid flammable materials. What about batteries? You can pack them in your carry-on and check-in luggage.
Yeah, actually, it's allowed as long as it's not combustible. Like, for example, we have been confiscating, for example, a lot of lighters in the ports and some knife from the passengers traveling with their food for picnic. But it's not allowed. And we've been reminding the passengers as well.
And when you said that you've noticed an increase in sharp objects, like passengers bringing sharp objects, what type of sharp objects are these? Like knives and actual bladed weapons?
Surprisingly, we have balisong in Batangas, for
okay,
example.
yes.
And if you're familiar with the tari ng manok for the chicken
okay.
that they used to travel with, because pets are allowed. So we just don't allow those sharp objects.
For safety.
Yes.
And what are your tips for passengers that will be traveling this All Souls Day in terms of how much allowance they should have before the time of departure of their vessels, and anything they should be aware of?
Especially during this peak season, we're advising the passengers to go at least 2 hours before their scheduled trip because we cannot predict the traffic going to the port, no? Usually dun yung traffic yung papunta sa port. But right now, we have all the measures in place for our port. So talagang we're just waiting for the passengers to arrive. It's already been set up, yung mga security measures natin. We're just monitoring also. We have an hourly report from all the port management offices, 100 plus ports nationwide. So we advise the public through our PPA online social media page, and I hope that we can have a safe, secure Undas Exodus this year.
Thank you so much. And just out of curiosity, how much of that volume that you mentioned earlier, the over 1 million passengers that you're expecting, are made up of just tourists and foreign tourists?
Actually, most of our passengers are local passengers. Like, for example, these are the people traveling from Manila going to their provinces. But we also have foreign tourists, but especially at this time during the Exodus, it's more of the local passengers.
Locals talaga. Okay. Thank you so much, Eunice, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Atty. Karen, and thank you very much for having us also to remind the passengers.
With the expected 4.5 million travelers who will troop our bus terminals, seaports, and airports, authorities say that they are prepared to handle the surge in the number of passengers, providing travelers with convenience and satisfactory experience in terminals will give them one less thing to worry about as they remember their departed loved ones during the All Saints' Day weekend. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again tomorrow for informative conversations that will help you form an objective personal opinion. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.